Good morning, beloved. Peace be with you. Today, as we begin with our psalm, our refrain reminds us, it says, "Holy is the Lord our God." And the psalmist begins by urging us, or the assembly, extol the Lord our God. So it's a extol the Lord our God and worship at his footstool. Holy is he. So this is a call to worship, which tells us, in some sense at the very beginning, this is a praise psalm. And so we just remember the purpose of a praise psalm is to call people to worship so that you can give God away to them. Give God away, give an encounter with God away, give an experience with God away, give your relationship with God away to them so they can have the same experience, you know. If you, just like we said, if you're hiking on a mountain and saw, all of a sudden you look to the right and you see this beautiful landscape, you would call your friends and say, hey, look at this. Why? Because you want them to see what you just saw. So same thing, we're calling people, come extol the Lord, worship the Lord with me. Why? You're saying, look at the Lord, you know, how wonderful he is. So that is a call to worship. As we said, sometimes, most of the time, the calls to worship, the praise psalms, are calling others to join you in worship so they can have the same experience as you. Just like when you call them to look at the beautiful landscape, so you want to have the same experience as you. Other times, the worship is actually not calling people to come and worship with you, but it's just directed straight to God. You're just telling God how wonderful he is. And so when we're doing that and saying, you're so wonderful, so faithful, so good, today you're so holy, we're not trying to give God away to somebody, we're trying to give ourselves away to God. And we're talking to him directly about how wonderful he is. That is foundational teaching for understanding praise psalms and thanksgiving psalms. So that's why I just keep repeating, we have to get this down so we can get it into the practice of our life. So we can experience the holiness and intimacy with God. The psalm goes on to then speak about people who had holy experiences with God. Moses and Aaron, Samuel, this pillar of cloud to the whole people. And so again, we ask, as we just go through the psalm a little bit, and we say, okay, let's just define holiness first, and then we'll connect it to the first reading. We remind ourselves that to be holy, the word there, to be holy, we basically usually say means to be set apart. You're set apart, you're holy, you're separated. God is holy, he is set apart. We are called holy people. We're called to be set apart with God. Now we remember though, that we're not just set apart for the sake of being set apart. Like we're all gonna, live in monasteries and never enter into a grocery store again or something, And it helps to see the fuller understanding of this word holy or holiness when we look deeper in the Hebrew and we see that it's the same word or terminology used in Hebrew for the word that we use today, marriage. Same word, holy, marriage. So now you think about marriage. In marriage, two people are set apart for each other. They're set apart from the rest of the world, from the rest of the men and the women who are single, because they are no longer single. They're set apart for each other, right? And it's for the purpose of intimacy with each other. That's marriage, that's holiness. So when we say that God is set apart, it's not just that he's some big watchmaker out there, he's so separate from us we can never get near to him. He is set apart and calls us to be holy and set apart with him so that we are all set apart for intimacy with God. This is why the number one description of our relationship with God in the scriptures, Old Testament and New Testament, is that of marriage. This is why. A couple days ago when they worshiped the golden calf, God called it adultery. And the little remedy that Moses made them do, as far as grinding down this golden calf into dust and sprinkling it in the water and then making them drink the water, that was actually a a ritual for people who had committed adultery. It was one, acknowledging I've committed this adultery, and two, I'm not going to do it again, I'm going to make reparation. I know it's a weird ritual to us, but to them, that's what they did. They would actually take the dust of the floorboard, wherever they committed adultery, put that in water, and then drink that water. And that was part of their acknowledgement and confession and penance, you might say today, for adultery. So holiness is marriage, set apart for intimacy. That's what the full word means. So now we say, okay, what would cause us to respond this way in the psalm and say, holy is the Lord our God, set apart for intimacy is the Lord our God. Well, we look at our first reading and we see is there anybody who's set apart there, who's standing out as separated or different? For sure, Moses, right? He went up a second time to get the 10 Commandments again. He's up there for 40 more days and 40 more nights, not eating, not drinking, comes down, and he's been so intimate with God that he is radiant with the glory of God. And it's so bright, it's overflowing from his skin that they can't even look at him. It's like trying to, if our faces turned like that light, people could not even look at that light. They'd be like, let's go like this, covering it. That's why they said, put a veil on. Put a shade over the lampstand there. Every time he went in with the Lord, he came out radiant like the Lord. When you share an intimacy with people, true heart-to-heart intimacy, you become like each other. A communion grows. A union grows. And you say, what kind of intimacy? Or what does it take to get there, into that kind of intimacy, that set apartness for intimacy with the Lord? And that points us right into the gospel, where Jesus is teaching us how to be consecrated to him. This is what it takes to be totally set apart for intimacy with the Lord. We have to, when we find him, sell everything, give up everything else to be with him. And it will help you and me if we continue to use the marriage example. When two people get married, they have to change their life and stop doing certain things and stop going to certain places. They can't keep dating other people when they get married, and they can't go to the single bars anymore when they get married. Everything changes. They have to give up all that stuff. And they begin to grow in this. And you probably know people. I've heard people too. I've seen them as we work with them. And as they're realizing this, what it means, this marriage, this set apartness means, and they realize, and they begin to grow in awareness and realize, there's certain things I can't do anymore. Otherwise, I'm like cheating on my spouse. I can't watch some of these inappropriate videos anymore. Otherwise, I'm being unfaithful to them. I have to change some of my other relationships at work or wherever now because I'm too emotionally attached to them. I feel like I'm emotionally cheating on my spouse now. See, the set apartness begins to change your whole life. And you begin giving up, selling other things in your life for the set apartness, for intimacy with the spouse. The same thing with us and God. We have to begin to, as we're growing, to grow in more and more awareness all the time. Is there any ways I'm cheating on you, Lord? With my time, with my thoughts or my mind, with my feelings and emotions, with who I'm letting influence my life? Who do I turn to in time of need? Do I turn to you right away? Or am I turning to somebody or something else? Who's my God? The one in whom I trust, and the one whom I'm living for. Is my whole life for you now, dedicated and consecrated to you, or are you just a part of my life? You're compartmentalized as part of my life. This is what they tell me. When people get married, that's your life. Not just a part of your life, right? This is your whole new life now. You just started a whole new life together. The marriage day is just the first day of the rest of their life, a new life together, because the two become one. And Paul tells us, just like marriage, as soon as we were baptized, the two of us and Christ, became one. And now there has to be a whole new life together, where I'm no longer doing things as if I'm not a believer, as if I'm a pagan, as if I'm not one with Christ. And, that's a learning curve. That first year of marriage, I've heard, is rough. Yeah, the honeymoon is great. Sometimes the roughness starts on the honeymoon, because there's a big learning curve for this new way of life. The same for us in intimacy with God. There's a correlation between our consecration to God and the actual intimate experiences we have with him. And if I haven't actually given up my life for him and to him, I'm going to be lacking in actual intimate experiences with him. And it's just like in a marriage. If you married somebody and said the vows, but you didn't change any of your lifestyle, and you're still dating and going to single clubs, you are not going to be experiencing very good intimacy with that spouse. Same with us and God. It's a perfect example and correlation for us to realize and to help us grow closer to him. This, obviously, then, this intimacy, set-apartness, holiness, points us forward very simply to the Eucharist. Communion equals union, or it's supposed to. And so, to the extent that you and I have sold everything, left everything for Christ, to that extent that we are totally consecrated our lives to him, we will experience total union with him when we receive communion. It's just like spouses when they experience communion together and union together. Deepens their love, supposed to. Deepens their intimacy, it's supposed to. Same with us and communion with God.